Namaste and a very good evening to all of you here. We extend a very warm and soulful greetings to all the august audience present here on today's auspicious occasion, 21st February 2023, the Divine Mother's birth anniversary celebrations. We also welcome those who are present with us online. Please keep your mobiles in silent mode. We also welcome Shri S.S. Lahiri ji, Trustee, Sri Aurobindo Complex Trust, on today's special occasion to give a talk on work of the works of twin avatars. The message for today, blessings, the mother. We are at one of these hours of God, when the old bases get shaken and there is a great confusion. But it is a wonderful opportunity for those who want to leap forward. The possibility of progress is exceptional. Will you not be of those who take advantage of it? The mother. Message given by the mother in 1st April 1971. The mother was born in Paris on 21st February 1878. She was given the name Mira. Even in her early years, Mira became conscious of her special purpose of life, her mission on earth. I started contemplating or doing my yoga from the age of 4. Gradually, I began to feel I shall have to do some tremendously great work that nobody yet knows. The mother was an accomplished painter, a master occultist, a beautiful pianist who brought down the divine music to this earth, a spiritual guru to the sadhaks, Sri Aurobindo's spiritual collaborator, and a mother to all of us. Myself and my creed by the mother. I belong to no nation, no civilization, no society, no race, but to the divine. I obey no master, no ruler, no law, no social convention, but the divine. To him I have surrendered all, will, life, self. For him I am ready to give all my blood, drop by drop, if such is his will, with complete joy. And nothing in his service can be sacrificed, for all is perfect delight. Sri Aurobindo Society JP Nagar here is working under the able guidance of Sri Aurobindo Society Puducherry to make people aware of the teachings of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. We are regularly conducting many activities here. One can subscribe to become a member of Sri Aurobindo Society Pondicherry to offer their services to the divine. The membership forms are available at the reception desk and online too. Every member gets a beautiful magazine like this every month, a colorful. This is on meditations on love, replete with the mantric words of Sri Aurobindo and the mother. We have Mirambika School for New Age, CBSE school, full-fledged from baby nursery to 10th standard. This is Sri Aurobindo's Sacred Relics branch, a well-stocked library, a book section where Sri Aurobindo Ashram products are available, this beautiful cultural hall. The managing trustee of Sri Aurobindo Complex Trust is Dr. Ajit Sabnis, chairman of Mirambika School for New Age, executive and core committee member, Sri Aurobindo Society, Puducherry. Sri Aurobindo Complex is also the Karnataka state headquarters, with about 33 active Sri Aurobindo Society branches and centers. Before I call upon Sri Lahiri ji, a brief introduction. Lahiri ji is a trustee at Sri Aurobindo Complex Trust, JP Nagar. He regularly conducts online Savitri classes on Tuesday from 10:30 to 12 noon at Sri Aurobindo Society, Ansur Bhavan. He is also a regular speaker at various Sri Aurobindo Society centers and branches in India and abroad. He has served in the Indian Air Force and is a recipient of 2 presidential awards. One from President Venkatraman in 1993 and one from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam in 2003 for rendering meritorious service to the nation. This program is also being live streamed on YouTube and Zoom. We request all the participants to mute their audio for the talk. Please note that today's session is also an interactive one. With these few words, I hand over the session to Lahiri ji. Thank you.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Arvindaya. Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. Today we are going to discuss briefly what is work of works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Collapse. We'll be briefly discussing what is the work of works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Of all the works that Mother and Sri Aurobindo has done, the central pivot, central purpose, the main reason for which they came is for divinizing the earth. Everything else was either supportive or perhaps contributive or maybe facilitating the entire action. Generally, we get immersed in those activities because they appear to be simpler, easier, and we forget about the actual task for which they came. And what is their mission, how they did, and what they did is not much attention paid to. Sri Aurobindo in Life Divine says, the ascent to the divine life is the human journey. The work of works, the acceptable sacrifice, This alone is man's real business in the world and the justification of his existence. So if we are not remaining affiliated or leaning towards this sort of verse, I feel that we are not doing anything towards for what they came. The problem is thus set forth. It is global problem. Nothing can be left out in the dark, not even a speck of dust. Everything must be dealt with. The total world question, otherwise nothing is achieved and nothing is transformed. Mother and Sri Aurobindo saw the problem very well. They perfectly understood the magnitude and where it plunged its roots. How deep were the roots to undo what has been done was their main issue. And so this plunge into the body, the human body, the earth, human earth, into the material consciousness, the consciousness of the cells of the body, and cells have a consciousness of their own mode of being, otherwise they would not exist. The cells exist because they have a mode of being. Mode of being means that they have a way of coming into existence and remaining in existence. The moment that mode of being is disturbed, anything else, including cells, would collapse. The movement and the music must carry on. And this was going to occupy their entire lifetime. And Sri Aurobindo has lamented that the disciples do not leave him with much of a work, much of a time to do his main job. And he says, at least I am left with some time, but the mother is not left with any time. So this is how the situation was there. But since the disciples were also a part of the whole, they were treated as a part of the problem to be addressed. So the immediate aim towards this aim, the immediate aim was perfection and divinization of the body. So the question obviously arises, why and how? Now in this discussion, there will be, how is this presentation going to be done? Is being attempted within the available time, because time is the greatest constraint. And within this available time, what I have done is, in the initial phase, the whole problem is defined. Subsequently, without going deeply into what Sri Aurobindo has done, I have primarily concentrated on what Mother has done, because today is Mother's birthday. And through that, I have linked it to Savitri also, so that our understanding of Savitri and study of Savitri becomes more meaningful when we see how these are actually, woven into Savitri. How in Savitri everything has been told. What has happened and what is happening, what is due to happen. So this is what is I'm going about. So first there will be chunk of slides which will be on defining the problem, painting the problem. I will not say that defining the problem. The problem can only be defined by those two, not by us. So the primary difficulty is the matter. We know this. And the mind and life forces do offer resistance, but they are more easily tackled. In fact, mind aspect has been quite well tackled by our traditional religion and spirituality. What has not been tackled at all or very cursorily is the divinization of matter, diving down into the matter, into the cell. In the substance of the cell, there is no death. This is what Mother says. In the true substance of the cell, there is no death. Death is not a reality of matter. It is a particular unreality of matter. It dies because it is not what it really is. Why does the matter die? Why does the cell die? Because it's the reality that it is portraying is not its true reality. Once its true reality is brought out, it will not die. This is the crux of the whole journey. Mother says, each time I ask my body what it would like, all the cells say, no, no, we are immortal. We want to be immortal. We are not tired. We are ready to struggle for centuries if necessary. We have been created for immortality and we want immortality. This is the truth of the thing. And as against this, dying has become a habit. We are habituated to die. How can death be eliminated? Death, of course, which is a non-joy, not bliss, I mean, and the non-reason for being in existence. And if it has no reason for being, obviously it must not exist. It is the unreality of the universe. What is needed is a single mutation of death. This is what Supreme says. A single mutation of death. If a single mutation of death takes place, can be engineered, then it will not happen again. And everything else will be changed automatically without any shadow of doubt. How can death be eliminated? Supreme says that a key is possibility to be found precisely with what we have to mutate or within what we have to mutate. How a key has to be found? What is that mutation we want to do? A key has to be found. And what is that key that Mother had found? And we have to mutate, then there will be there where death is made. This mutation must take place where the death is made. And what is it that dies? What is it that dies? The cells which die because they keep spinning a song of death, an unreal song, a non-reason for being. A song spins in the wrong direction. So if this tune is turned to the other side, this singing is turned to the other side, or the key is turned to the other side, then it will not happen. Mother used to say, by saying, it is turning this side, it should be turned to that side. The reverse direction. In her dialogue, she used to describe by moving his finger or turning her head, she used to say this. But this is not true. Lives cannot spin in non-life. It can only spin joy and more joy because it is joy itself. Life is joy. Life is daughter of the heaven. Savitri tells us. It spins death only because it has not found the small key. Or in order to oblige us to find the small key of the real, the true life. Now, it was quite clear to Sri Aurobindo that the betterment and the final perfection of the body has to be achieved in two phases. So this is another aspect that we have to know, that it has got to be done in two stages. One is first an intermediate stage, which mother calls a transitory stage, and finally a supramental race. And it is also stated by Sri Aurobindo somewhere that out of that supramental state, some individual will be picked up to create the change that is required to be done. So this gives us a distance to go. What is the distance to go? What is to be done? How much time it should take? The mammoth, profound amount of work that they had undertaken in their life. A link or a bridge between the already evolved or potential state of human race and the final divine state has to be created. So there has got to be a link between where we are and where we want to be. So there is a bridge required. From where will that bridge come? Because every time we have evolved from life to mind, mind to life, and life to mind, or matter to life, we have had some kind of a link. Now a link is required. Now, mother functioned in the cellular level through this link. We'll come to the link later. But mother functioned in the cellular level through this link. Its role will be that of a new mental being for the new race of humanity. So, when we have the Superman, we have a new type of mental being. We are one type of mental being, and we'll have a different type of mental being when we have gone to the supermanhood. And that is the first step. So what are the considerations? What are the various broad factors? The material base has to be retained because after all, the aim is to divinize the matter. So you can't get rid of matter. What do you mean by getting rid of matter? Because matter troubles us. So we always say that forget about this matter, let us go to the caves, get out of the society, and be there and do our job. So matter will not trouble us. That is like putting the problem under the carpet. I don't want to see ostrich syndrome. I'll close my eyes to the problem. So the problem will disappear. But Sri Aurobindo says no. This adventure was through deep jungle. And so this divinization of matter was an adventure, was through a deep jungle that the mother later calls a virgin forest. Virgin forest because nobody has traveled in that forest. It is so dense and treacherous and dangerous. If you read mother's statements, it is painful. And tremendous opposition was faced by Sri Aurobindo when he did his work in the subconscious and the inconscient. And we find that in that placard on the Samadhi, 9th December 1950 statement of mother. And he not suffered external damage, external injuries. External injuries are one significant that was known. But the internal injuries, internal onslaught onto him was tremendous. Continuing on, what are the considerations? The necessary forms and instrumentations of matter must remain. Necessary forms and instrumentation of matter must remain, since it is in the world of matter that the divine life has to manifest. But their materiality must be refined. That what is the texture of that matter? What is the texture of this matter? Like we see the cloth while going to the shop, we check the texture of the cloth. The materiality must be refined, uplifted, ennobled, illumined, since the matter and the world of matter have increasingly to manifest the indwelling spirit. SMUE stands for supramental manifestation. That showed a book, supramental manifestation. No, I think this EV is wrong. Staying on the what are the consideration, are the various factors. What are the things that have to be kept in mind while designing or proceeding along the designing the master plan and walking down that master plan path. Manifestation of the supramental truth consciousness alone will make the divine life possible. Now, the divine life is the final chapter of Life Divine. If we all have read that, manifestation of the supramental truth consciousness alone can make the divine life possible on earth. And this can happen when the involved supermind and the descending supermind, they meet in the field of earth. The descending supermind and the ascending supermind. Supermind is also there in our cells. Initially, it was so done by the divine. So this was there. So this has to ascend, and that is descending. This descending and ascending has to happen to be and liberated upon earth and reveal itself on our material, vital and mental plane. You see, I'm sure we all know, but just to emphasize this point, while we have all those planes, what Sri Aurobindo talks in Life Divine, over mind down to the higher mind and normal mind, we have parallelly the human mental. We have that set, and we have got human mental, human mind. Initially, unless the human mind ascends, and actualizes these in itself, the human drive has not gained anything. Right? This is very simple. It will remain like a insulated. The human mind, suppose the human mind human mind itself must manifest higher mind, illumined mind, intuitive mind, and overmind. That is a journey that is to be undertaken, and that has to happen. Whole problem lies there in the first stage. But the path is unimaginably treacherous, and we see that in Sri Aurobindo's poem of God's Labor. It's a wonderful poem, must be read 100 times. He says that my gaping wounds are 1,001, and the Titan King assails, but I cannot rest till my task is done and wrought the eternal will. He says, because there is a sun for which all darkness waits. But this difficulty had to be met. And again in God's Labor, he says, a voice cried out to Sri Aurobindo and said, go where none have gone. Dig deeper, deeper yet, till thou reach the grim foundation stone and knock at the keyless gate. If at any stage there is some debate and doubt in the mind, kindly do not hesitate to raise a query. I will try and attempt, if I know, to answer that. On 25th November 35, Sri Aurobindo wrote to Nirod Maran, at present I am only busy with transformation of overmind down to the subconscient and supermind. Transformation of overmind down to subconscient into supermind. So he was only working towards subconscient. Initial indication in 1920, we found that he had written letters from which we found what is happening. We have seen A.B. Purani's evening talks. All of you have studied that. And there also we have found indications. But here is a letter which I had not accessed earlier, but we found that this exists, that in 35 he said this. Mind you, 1935 is a very interesting year also. Interesting for us because this is the first time Sri Aurobindo used the term mind of light. Before that, the term mind of light was not used by him by anywhere. So, see the journey, most absorbing journey. I mean, in 1938, matter was actually illumined. Mother says this is 1954. In 1954, Mother says this. Even in 1938, I used to see supermind descending into Sri Aurobindo. And what he could not do at that time was to fix it here. It was not, could not be anchored. The mooring was not taking place. Supramental force was there up to the subtle physical. See, up to subtle physical. It has gone through mind and vital, not to the matter, but in the subtle physical. We said that overmind to all that minds, all of these typal minds must have to migrate into the human mental. Has to migrate into human mental. Unless it migrates into human mental, why is it necessary? Unless it migrates into human mental, one human mental on earth, no subsequent individual can climb. Because that is the first creation of the ladder. So, nobody prior to Sri Aurobindo could go to supermind because maximum climb was up to overmind, if at all. So nobody could have gone because somebody has to go first. Somebody has to go first, and that was he. So supramental force was there up to the subtle physical. See, this is the interesting thing we should retain in our mind, that because when we discuss sometime later the mind of light, we will require extensive understanding of this. So in new creation, somewhere in the new creation happened. This is an altogether new creation and not one which had come into sudden view. In Savitri, we have a corresponding description. This knowledge now was made a cosmos seed. This seed was cased in the safety of the light. It needed not the sheath of ignorance. Then from the trance of the tremendous clasp, and from the throbbings of that single heart, and from the naked spirit's victory, a new and marvelous creation arose. Now this marvelous creation that is rising this marvelous creation that is rising, where it was not rising somewhere else. It was co-located. It was itself here. It is happening here simultaneously. We'll see that later on, and we'll find it quite, uh, quite a meaning in this line in page 323, that a new and marvelous creation rose. Where did it rise? How did it rise? What is the means of going there? These will be the questions that we need to ask and answer. And the answers are there. We have to do a lot of research in that. In 44, matter was indeed lit. 38, we saw what he wrote in God's Labor. And in 1944, he writes, and 1944 letter is also, this Golden Light letter poem is very important because it was first on 8th August, 38, and again in 44 he revised it. So after about 6 years, he changes 2-3 words, like he has done in page 1 of Savitri, 25 drafts. Here it is. In 1938 version, we find the golden light came down into my feet. The earth is now my playfield, oh my sweet. This was 38 version. In 48 version, that second line there is changed to from the earth to my earth. And oh my sweet, to and thy seed. My earth is now thy playfield and thy seed. So this tremendous difference, this momentous difference that has happened from 38, when things were in the subtle physical level, and in 44, when it was in earth level. We cannot overlook this, because these are the initial pathfindings. The initial pathfinding is the most difficult thing to do, as to which way to go, what is the right direction, which will be easier to go, which is a shortcut. All that is the first thing to decide. A seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour. A branch of heaven transplant to human soil. Nature shall overleap her mortal step. Fate shall be changed by an unchanging will. This is in Savitri. Sri Aurobindo writes, says this. Satyavan's death awakens the spiritual powers in Savitri. In the epic of Savitri, we find when Satyavan dies, even the night before the death, night before the day he dies, she had the journey. And Satyavan's death awakens the spiritual powers in Savitri. She became armed to face the death. Now, if this thing we have studied 100 times in Savitri, now if you match this event, a seed shall be sown in death's tremendous hour. When Satyavan dies, death. A seed of spiritual growth was spiritual trigger, I will say, a spiritual spark was ignited in Savitri. And Savitri commences the spiritual journey to combat the death. Nature shall overleap, a branch of heaven transplant to human soil. Savitri. Now see. Mother says to Amalkiran that as soon as Sri Aurobindo withdrew from his body, what he has called mind of light got realized in me. This happened, we all know this. I mean, we have read this. Between 5th December to 9th December. Armored with mind and light, mother's intense work for the cellular transformation begins from here and now. The cellular transformation of mother begins from January 1951. Perhaps the journey in eternal night after the death in the forest. Sri Aurobindo's death, and mother picks up the clutch and moves. Satyavan picks up, Savitri picks up in the forest after Satyavan's death. On 7th of December, 5th December, what happened? 7th December, Sri Aurobindo's body was still in the room upstairs. And Sri Aurobindo gives an assurance to mother. And mother writes this: Lord, this morning thou hast given me the assurance that thou would stay with us until thy work is achieved. Not only as a consciousness which guides and illumines, but also in a dynamic presence in action. In unmistakable terms, thou hast promised that all of thyself should remain here and not leave the earth atmosphere until the earth is transformed. Grant that we may be worthy of this marvelous presence, and that henceforth everything in us be concentrated on the one will to be more and more perfectly consecrated to the fulfillment of thy sublime. So mother says that make us able instruments to fulfill the task. Then mother moved on, had to move on alone. Lord, we are upon earth to accomplish thy work of transformation. It is our sole will, our sole preoccupation. Grant that it may also be our sole occupation, and that all our actions may help us towards this single goal. So the mother's journey begins from there. It is generally thought that from 73 working backwards, the period can be grouped in the last 5 years, last but 5 years, and the previous portion. 1962 is an important pre-1962. Why I'm saying pre-1962 is 1962 is the day, was the year in which that physical mind was crossed over. So that is, so I've written the pre-1962 because the yoga of cells happened around that period. On 6th January 1951, 6th January 1951, ladies and gentlemen, is just about 15-20 days after Sri Aurobindo was put in the Samadhi place, and then for 12 days the ashram was closed. From 9th onwards till 17th, ashram was closed. There are a lot of rumors that what will now happen to the ashram. And mother had written a letter to Sri Aurobindo that time, that what shall I do? Should I continue the work or should I not? She wrote this kind of a letter twice. This is the first time. Obviously, since the work continued, she would have got the response to carry on. So, on 6th of January, that means you calculate those 12 days, add to the 12 days, that soon after that, this is happening. In integral transformation, both the outer and the inner consciousness are transformed. Yes, but there is something which remains unchanged unless you take care of it and persist in your effort. And what is it? That is the body consciousness. It is a very tough nut to crack. These are all words, but the magnitude of it cannot be fathomed by any one of us. In 54, mother had an amazing experience. Actually, 1954 is a very, very important year also in mother's life. Many tremendous things happened, from mundane to very significant. Mother had an amazing experience. For the last few days, when I wake up in the morning, I have a strange sensation of entering a body that is not mine. She used to enter into a body that was not her. And in February, she says that body, this body, the existing visible body, needed to be perfectly harmonious to be able to enter into the other harmonious body. Otherwise, there is tremendous amount of mismatch and disharmony, etc., etc. Then April 54, she says the transformation of the body has begun. The work had commenced. So this 1954 is important. Also 1954 is the year in which Pondicherry joined Free India. Pondicherry was French colony till then. 15th of August. That happened on 15th of August, 1954. Pondicherry and mother's repeated application to be granted the dual citizenship of France and of India was 3 times rejected by Nehru. And somehow, when Nehru visited ashram later on, consequently, he changed his total thought. And in the last visit of Nehru, he left all program without any security. He drove straight to the mother in the playfield for an interview. So much change he had undergone. Now, here is a critical milepost in 57. Now, see this, how things happened in the occult. We know 1956, 29th February, the leap year of 1956, when the Supermind descended into the earth. Mother was asked, in your talk entitled The True Adventure, in November 1957, more than a year later, issue of the bulletin, page 2, you have said, last year when I announced to you the manifestation of the supramental consciousness and light and force, I should have added that it was an event forerunner of the birth of the new world. So that incident, what happened that day, is a forerunner. And that means it's a trailer. It's a trailer of a movie to what is about to happen. This means that the new world was born after 29th February 1956 as the date of supramental manifestation. Which date after that should be taken as the date of birth of the new world? That means mother had said, I hope you understood the question. Question is that mother had said in 57 that after the incident of February 56, that became a trailer for the creation of a new world. So the question now is being asked, when did that new world come about? After 56. And mother's answer was half an hour later. This is mother's statement. Half an hour later of that incident of 29th February, half an hour later, the new world came into existence, his mother said. It's a critical milepost for us to remember. Not only that incident, this significant event. Mother says in February 61, she has now gone into subconscious. She has gone into subconscious region for birth. Subconscious is a dangerous playfield. She describes it. She describes it that you cannot imagine what I used to undergo every night when I was working in the subconscious. It was torturous. So mother says, I'm right in the subconscious. A subconscious, hopelessly riddled with weakness, dullness, what shall I say, enslaved by a host of things, enslaved by everything. So naturally, the body feels the effect. Poor thing. That's it, subconscious, not personal. It's personal and not personal. It becomes personal when it enters the body. So, I hope it is understood. Inconscient is not personal. Inconscient is universal and transcendental. I mean, beyond universal. But subconscious from universal becomes personal. Mother, having gone down deep, says, these last few days, these last few days, she has gone down very deep into the least enlightened part of the cells. What still belongs to the most of the world of unconsciousness and inertia. What is the most foreign to the divine presence? You could say it is the original substance used by life. It is the original substance used by life with a sort of incapacity to respond to the feel and reason for that life. I have the feeling it is quite close to the bottom. And this is the base and foundation of all materialism. Now, when we read in Savitri, the fall of life and the little life, fall of life. When you read that, we find the unresponsive or adversely responsive aspects of life manifesting in matter. And hear what mother is saying, and hear what mother is saying. And the heading is what Sri Aurobindo has said in Savitri. To feed death with her works is here life's due. So we must see the movement, we must see the concurrence, and we must see the, how the picture can be made more focused and more defined in our mind to the extent possible. After all, there was a way out, and that was found. First time a hole occurred in the web was in 1958, and thereafter the experience happened recurrently to mother. It was in 1962 that the great exit to the other side took place, which I mentioned earlier. What is this web? This web is the web. There are two webs. There is the first web. This web is before you enter into the physical mind. And there is a web when you cross the physical mind and life, and you are after the life, you are entering into the substance of the cell. So this can be, if it's combined, it is one web. If it is dissected and we want to be more accurate in our understanding, there are two waves. Let us think that there is one wave and it goes on like this. So first time an hole occurred in that web was in 62. Now let us see the degree of difficulties. We have to understand before we understand what is stated here. We know, we have discussed this in our classes. We have said that there are problems in universalization because we have to give up ego. Yet, I have to remain to do something. Take the example, like we say, Sri Aurobindo says, or many others have said, that a wave versus an ocean. The wave is the individual, the ocean is the all. Now, this wave has to, if it sings its own song and it tries to blow its own trumpet, like the ego, it will be discordant. It will not be a part of a symphony. But simultaneously, it is demanded that this personality of the wave must remain for it to do the work of the universe for which it has been created. So this wave has to heave with the ocean and go down with the ocean. If it does not do that, it is not, its ego is remaining. Its ego is, So this it has to remain, you cannot, how did Janak Raja did his work as a king and remain a rishi? He was a king, Ashapati. Ashapati is a king, but he was a great rishi. Great rishi. The Vaishnava Vidya of the Upanishads is the Vidya which was propagated, or he distributed that Vidya, was the one who distributed the Ashapati Muni. So it is to be done that way. So gaining universalization, loss of the ego, and a vast equality, while simultaneously retaining individual personality, is a very difficult to attain. How do you do it? How can you do this? This is a primary difficulty because I must remain to proceed, yet it is to be annulled. So the status that is to be obtained is this. Going along with the difficulties, not only the mental layers prior to the physical mind is to be crossed over, even the instinct of self-preservation of the species is to be undone to reach the cellular substance proper. That means below the web that we discussed, below the web, there is a tendency in the cell for self-preservation. So that self-preservative tendency of the species is actually residing there. It is not residing in the mind or anywhere. It is residing there. It is programmed there. He says this also is to be undone. Now, Mother says that this cannot be done all at once. It cannot be done all at once, at one go. Convert all the cells. No, it cannot be done. There are about 100 trillion cells that make up a human body. And Mother says only limited number of cells are subjected to the influence of the higher power at one time. And not the entire 100 trillion. So what will happen? One set will be converted, the rest will not be converted. Consequently, there is a violent disorder in the body. But the cells gradually learn the logic of illness and magic of wellness based on the state of consciousness. And also there is a confusion in terms of authority, whom to obey. Because there is a change of authority, the last line. A new type of vibration in the cell, which will be different from the habitual vibration, has to be introduced and sustained. When such an action goes down the cellular level, the cells do not understand whom to obey. The old vibration or the newly arrived vibration. The old song or the new song. So there is a change of authority. This is another serious problem. Mother in 62 talks about two opposite types of consciousness simultaneously as if held out or superimposed, and in any one we can locate ourselves. We can locate on this consciousness or that consciousness. Besides, we can conclude that since we have been formed in matter, this matter should hold its own solution. So the solution as to whether I will be in this consciousness or that consciousness should be held in the matter. After all, when from the caterpillar a butterfly emerges, it does so in a body also made of matter. So matter has got to be honored. Death, of course, has no reason to exist. We have seen that. Mother says, as that through a mutation of death, everything else can be changed. It is the cells which die because they keep singing the tune of death all the time. But this is not true. Life cannot spin non-life. We have seen this. Death must be abolished. Mother says we are seeking the process, the fight that was going on, the work they are doing. We are seeking the process in order to have a power to undo what was done, to undo death. But after all these years, there is something in me that would like to have the power or key, that is the process. I know and live. To know and live how death is created, one has to live death. Then only the key can be turned in the opposite direction. And that is why Sri Aurobindo had to strategically give up his body while entering live into it, into death. He had to enter live. That is why the chapter on death in Savitri, which is about 3 to 4 pages only, when Niranbaran told him towards the end, when he asked, is everything done? He says, no, the death is not done. Chapter on death is not done. He said, okay, we'll see that later. People say, K.D. Setna says, perhaps he wanted to live through death to write that. Maybe it will be written again. To know and live, that is that, in matters whom she casts the immortals fire. This is what Savitri says. Death is the unreality which is stuck onto the reality. Something that we stick with a magnet or something. Once that reality has been touched, that reality of joy, the death will become unreal by itself. One day, the cells themselves told Mother that they were immortal. You have seen this. Mother clearly said, the victory in death is required, not victory of death. Victory in death. Death must be vanquished. There must be no more death. That is very clear. In the encounter of Savitri, it's over death, in the hall of death, that she won the victory, and not in life. That also tells us in through Savitri how it is to be done. It seems that this body is the very symbol of death. Then will the body's death lead to its transformation? What are the possibilities? We find this hint of death being the gate through the experience of Savitri in page 549. And there, through 10-15 lines, this has been stated. It is now written in terms of a just line. Depending upon what the unknowable decrees, Savitri may pass into nothingness. That means at that point of time, at that point of attempt, what will happen? It is not known. This is why it is treacherous. That is why it is risky. In fact, at one stage, mother was asked, was it necessary to take such a risky movement? Was it necessary to take such a risky movement in doing this change? It was. So he says, Savitri may pass into nothingness or newly become the all, or if the all-powerful Nihil takes a form, she may emerge as the redeemer of the world. She may even come to know the content of the mystic zero, the Nirvanic page. What now appears to be the exit or the blind end of all could be only a dark passage to the ineffable. So this is what is termed as not Suryasya Dwara, not as going through the supramental, superconscient, but going through the inconscient. Mritushya Dwara. So this is the dark passage to the ineffable. But only when we break through the matter's wall, we find there is a false earth, there is a true earth. This is how things actually are. Body's death must then hold the key to the needed change. So body must die. And yet it has to be a living death. Hold the key to needed change. The obstacle must be the means for transformation. In the last 10 years, before the mother's withdrawal, and in fact, in the final 5 years, were dedicated for this action. But what does death mean when there is no more other side? That means you have crossed over to the other side in 1962. And when there is no more other side, what does the death mean? The other side is here when we have cut through the web. So what happens then? We enter our body consciousness, as one could say, and every one of that is our reality and our body of reality. So that is the body of reality. Otherwise, this body is not a reality. No, this is not the subtle. This is the true body. True body, false body, like it is stated earlier. There is a false body, and there is a true body. So the second web that I was mentioning, here it has been brought out. Brought out means it has been made use of. That on the other side of the second web is the real body, and that is the true body, and that is the body that we have to live in. How and why, what are the problems in that, is what mother was tackling at that time. And she gets that. And while you see at this time, Sri Aurobindo is in subtle physical. 7th December, he has promised, I'm here. I will continue till the work is to be done. Until the work is done, I'll be here. And mother physically on ground is doing this job. So there was a constant communication between the two. Constant communication between the two. So this body is the actual matter on the other side, true matter on the other side, not the false matter. So what was happening there? Earlier there was a false law in the false body, and when you landed up in that place, you find there is no law. There is no law. So that is another very unsafe region, unsafe way to work. How will you manage? It is like, say, Southern Circle. We have got how many? About 9 to 10 roads meeting there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 into 2, 12. 12 roads meeting there. And it is controlled by traffic light. Traffic light fails. There is no law. You can imagine the confusion here. I am talking about here. So this is in the cell, there is on the other side, there is no law yet. Before one crosses over the web, what prevailed were the rules and laws of the first web. That is matter according to our own physical mind. When we reach the second web, and that cellular substance freed from its fallacy, the difficulty is the rule of other side. Difficulty is the rule of the other side of the old wall that we have crossed is not available. Difficulty is precisely that there is no longer any wall, that we are floating in a no law, and that all is possible here. This is the picture. So this is how roughly I've drawn this picture. Seemingly a picture, it is not, it looks like an upper hemisphere, lower hemisphere. No, it is a cell that both the hemisphere together, there is a web in between, and that web on one side is top portion I have shown as a false side, false earth, our present side, and lower one is true earth, the other side of the web for conscious and loving souls. So this is how the journey onto the other side of the consciousness, other side of consciousness has to be made. Let us now roughly see the role of the physical mind. Physical mind is what we all know, the ordinary mind with which we continue our activities. Our very cells are also mentalized. Our cells are mentalized not only by us, but by the whole world, by the influence of the parents and all the previous journey that we have taken from our single cellular onwards, state onwards, through the planthood, animalhood, to the present manhood. That influence is embedded and recorded and engraved in the cell. This mentalization is done by the physical mind because the cell of our body, because the cell and our body is walled by the physical mind and physical consciousness. But if the wall is an obstacle, then the other side, then there exists the other side of the wall where the needed solution to free the cells from the old imprint exists. Mother says it is hell there. It is hell really. It's only thanks to this possibility that there is a distant sun, there is an alternative, that it is not hell for me. It's because behind the hell there is this possibility which is living, real, existing, tangible, and livable. Otherwise, it's infernal. Now, we see that matter is not what we normally conclude. It is only a vibration repeating itself. It's a vibration only. It is nothing. This is not true. It is a quality of vibration that makes more or less thickness, more or less opacity, more or less depth, a heavier or lighter coagulation. The coagulation that takes place, that makes the matter heavy or light. Why is cotton lighter than the wood? Because of that reason. Because the coagulation is different. Death is the scattering resulting from the absence of usual coagulative vibration. If the vibration is changed, matter changes. So also the death. So if that vibration can be changed, which changes the coagulation, then we can undo this. A new matter is born due to new vibration. It was in 62 that mother crossed over to the other side of the web or the wall of matter. But prior to this event, there are many experiences that she underwent, and we'll see that slowly. Ultimately, the mother came across a formidable wall. She touched the wall accidentally, thanks to someone near her who had Parkinson's disease. You all know the story, very interesting story. I've said this in classes. Mother says that when material mentality is seized with an idea, kindly understand this. It had to be written in this fashion. Mother says that when material mentality is seized with an idea, it is actually possessed by the idea. That means the material mind is seized with an idea. I've got an idea. I've got an idea that Vaishali is no good. If I say that Vaishali is no good or Vaishali is very good, then this mind get possessed with that idea. This mind get possessed with this idea. So the mind is a possession, then is possessed. Possessed means like some occult force comes and possesses you. So when the material mentality is seized with an idea, it actually is possessed by the idea. The tremor in Parkinson's, attributed to Parkinson, is the possession of an idea of the material mentality. It's what is the conscious intelligence is expressed. What in the conscious intelligence is expressed as a possession by an idea, a hypnosis accompanied by fear of matter. So the mind gets hypnotized with that idea, being possessed by the idea. And there is a fear now. What really happened? What is that incident? I'll repeat it, even at the cost of repetition, because many may not have been present in those discussions. One of the devotees brought a person who was in a severe stage of Parkinson. So he brought the gentleman to mother with this Parkinson disease, and it was a very severe case, very advanced case, a very severe case. So this person was brought close to mother, and mother held his hand like this, and the tremor ceased. And this gentleman immediately says, "How can that be?" And it was back. The tremor was back. So That meeting is what is ultimately the mother came across the formidable wall. He says, this is the wall. This is that wall which needs to be crossed. She touched the wall thanks to someone near her who had the Parkinson's disease, that person, that gentleman. This has happened even before, like during the freedom movement. Sri Aurobindo had given protection to somebody who had a snake bite. He had a snake bite, and the effect of the poison was arrested. And he was told not to lose his temper or something. So he was continuing for years. And someday he was giving a talk in a freedom movement gathering, and suddenly he lost control and he died on the spot. So there are things like this. Now you see, we have read in page 55 of Savitri, when darkness deepens strangling earth's breast, and man's corporeal mind is the only lamp. A stealth of many lines are there, about 10 lines in between, 5 lines in between. A stealth of God compel the heart to bliss, and earth grow unexpectedly divine. Now here, Sri Aurobindo is talking about corporeal mind, means mind of earth. So here he is saying, a man's corporeal mind is the only lamp, is the only source of light. And what is the source of, how is this source of light? Because it is there that the God is actually there, in that matter, other side of the web. And Mother says somewhere, there is a line in Savitri, sir, where I'm forgetting that line, the word traveler, it is not that travelers of the world, not in that context. There, the traveler, T capital. The traveler is T capital. And this traveler T capital, in one of her talks of Mother, she mentions that not only that consciousness has gone down there, but even the traveler T capital is also there. Stated in another fashion, this is it. So that is the corporeal mind. So that is how we have to look at this line. Otherwise, the true meaning of these lines become apparent to us now when we look at it from this point of view. Otherwise, our physical mind, corporeal mind is physical mind. How is the physical mind is the only lamp? Which is this physical mind that is the only lamp? So this true earth is God's own country. It has become clear that illness is only a material expression of falsehood, Parkinson's and all others. It was a show that in order to conquer death, one has to go through death. There is indeed a lot of goodness in true matter that works unknown, unseen, unrecognized in the cellular substance, the good earth. But it is the physical mind that causes the trouble. Now, back to physical mind. The physical mind uses the substance of the nerve, and that it is the cause of sensation. The substance of the nerve. If this mind is withdrawn from the nerve substance, one does not feel the pain and does not suffer. If this mind is withdrawn from the nerve substance, one does not feel the pain and does not suffer. we see again in Savitri, thou has in the book of yoga, thou has come down into the struggling world to aid a blind, suffering, mortal race. God must be born on earth and be as man, that man, being human, may grow even as God. This is where love in the embodiment of Savitri is needed to intervene and attain the final victory. You see, the role of love we have not understood much. We say Savitri is an embodiment of love, but what is this love that she is embodying? What is that in the initial days before she did the yoga? She was already half divine in the first canto. So, what was that she was? In the book, the mother, and we have all that Chota book, the book Mother, Sri Aurobindo says that there are powers and personalities who do not easily come down. You see, avatars come down, vibhutis come down, but there are powers and personalities who do not come down. They do not like to come down. Ananda, divine life, is one such, divine love is one such personality. With the divine's love is the power of transformation. It is this power, it has this power because it is for the sake of transformation that it has given itself to the world and manifested everywhere. That means when the initial descent took place, second emanation came, and the divine released the power of love to be embedded in every speck, cell, everywhere. Cells were not there, but every dust of matter that was created. The moment one opens to it, one receives the power of transformation. So, this Ananda, this divine love came down in the form of Savitri. Now we know that on 29th March 1914, when Mother for the first time met Sri Aurobindo, she saw supramental descending. Mother Sri Aurobindo had said it will happen, but it is descending. But for the manifestation of supermind in the body, the very cell of the body has to be uplifted. Now, this is a long story. I will not dwell on it. How much time we have got? Over. I'll not dwell on it because it's a interesting thing to know, but it is very longish. So I will go over it. Mother says in 59, he revealed it in 6th October. In August 59 it happened, but she revealed it on 6th October. I found myself in another world. And Sri Aurobindo's room was there. And he had a bed, he had an almirah, he had everything there. Those things are translucent and not transparent. And Sri Aurobindo was there. I remained there for 1 hour. I spoke to Sri Aurobindo, for I had some important questions to ask him about the way certain things are to be realized. He said nothing. And he answered me with a gesture. What was the gesture? Sri Aurobindo picked up 3 combs from the dressing table and put it on his head. He did not speak anything. Mother says, records that, and Mother says, this is like he wanted to indicate it is like a crown on my head. And he said that what you are thinking, you do that, I am with you. Mother continues, I remained in that state for 2 full days. And on the Darshan day, second portion, on the 15th August, Darshan day in 1959, Sri Aurobindo was present in the Darshan. And I showed the whole field of work and asked him when this other world, the real one, the true earth, on that real one, that is there, so near, would come to take place of our world of falsehood. Sri Aurobindo said, not ready. That was all he replied, not ready. What did the gods told Savitri? God told Savitri the same thing. That a Superman has to come. The intermediate race has to come. A new mind in matter or a matter developed. It is not a new way of thinking that is taking shape in matter. It is a new way of being matter. It is not the new way of thinking by matter, but it is a new way of being matter. For 10 years, 50 to 60, mother strove to break through the veil, purify the cells from their old recordings and the spell of the physical mind, and now it had become the real work. Mother realized firmly that one cannot change only a part of the physical. It is impossible to extract a small portion and rectify it, and it has been very well understood by her. So whole thing must change. Mother contends that the individuality is merely a means of action for the transformation of the whole. Individuality is an expression only. It demands such a transformation, it almost an eternity of time. It is perfectly obvious that if it were unbearable, it would never change. And if it is unbearable, well, it really makes one feel like running away, which is impossible. Of course, it is foolish to think you can get out of it. It's not possible. It delays the result. Now, we know the story of Agastya Rishi, what happened, but nearer home, Swami Brahmananda in the 1900s, who lived for about 200 years, lived with a toothache from 1961. 1761. 1761 onwards till the 1900s, that means more than 200, near 200 years and plus, he had the toothache which could not be cured. So, possibilities are here. Descent of Superman consciousness in 69. It was on 1st January after midnight. I woke up at 2 in the morning, surrounded by consciousness so concrete and new, in the sense that it had never experienced that. It was present for 2 to 3 hours. This we find in agenda. So we find the harbinger of supermind into the human mentality. The moments of, in Savitri, page 572, we find into the soul's splendor and intensity, a crescent of miraculous birth is tossed, whose horn of mastery floats in a bright void, as into a heaven of strength and silence, thought is ravished. So this is the, see, the mind of light has different forms. The initial form is the crescent form. That means the type of moon on the Prasama Ditya of the fortnight, Shukla Paksha. The form changes. So a crescent of miraculous birth is tossed, and it may be different, but perhaps the birth of newly created mind of light appears first as a crescent. See, mind of light was not in the life divine. We have seen everything, all the layers Sri Aurobindo has discussed. He never discussed. There is no mind of light brought up above our mind or anywhere. So from where did mind of light come? Every time we have said that everything has to be created. Everything has to evolve because it is involved. So this is a significant thing that had struck me. So I thought I will mention that how through the lines of Savitri also we can trace the path. So first time in 1964, this is where something that was very simple but yet incalculable consequence begins to take shape in matter. A new mind grows and mother cell starts singing Om Namo Bhagavate. A new mantra started working in the cell, and we all know that there was a state when mother says that my cells without my permission were singing Om Namah Bhagavate and was moving towards Sri Aurobindo's portrait. Now this is what it was a new mantra of the matter. So this mantra could repeat the changes, the change of recordings in that matter. So a new mind in new matter or of matter, which will not necessarily be coagulated in the old way. The coagulation means combination. How will you mix up and get created something? How will the amalgamation take place? It should not take place in the old way. It is not a new way of thinking that is taking shape in matter. It is a new way of being matter. It is the embryo of the new species. Actually, at one stage, there is a question asked by somebody that how can we know what is the next species after man? What is the next species after man? How to know that? How can we know that? So we see it is the embryo of a new species that is getting created. It is the key to the transformation. And then, Satprem also says, obviously, there's a way of being that makes a lizard. How is a lizard made, or a man made, or say this laptop made? How is it made? And what is it, after all, that makes a lizard? There is there at the very beginning, before a lizard was created, what was it that made a lizard? It is a coagulation of the cells. Which way it became that? It is always at that famous beginning. We all come afterwards. And so we say it is very simple. It winds itself into small molecules of protein that follow such and such scheme or schema. And if one disturbs the schema, it is no longer produces lizard. So similarly, the matter, before it dies, if we can teach them teach the matter or the ingrain into the matter, if the programming can be redone, then it will not die. Around the year 70, mother arrived at the conclusion that the physical and the physiological law on either side of the web of the physical mind are different. The laws are also different. Not only the consciousness, the laws are also different. One does not go out of matter, but it is in matter that a new state of matter that one continues. Perhaps it is governed by the influence of supramental consciousness. Now, this answers your question that where is the subtle physical or not? No, this is the same thing that is getting formed here. That is the same thing that is getting formed here. It is When only the consciousness is right, one can go to that side. And you see, we have read that all of us must have read that mother was sometime in this body, sometime was in that body. And at times when she was climbing the steps, she forgot how to put the next step on the next step, step ahead. She forgot that. That means that in the new body, the cells have to be taught. The skill development has to be done. Now in 72 March, see, towards the end of the last 5 years, towards the end of last 5 years of mother, mother says on 24th March 72 that she saw herself, her body. She did not know whether it was a supramental body or a transitional body. But that she had a completely new body in the sense that it was sexless. It was neither woman nor man. It was very white. It was very slender, really lovely, a truly harmonious form. I am beginning to understand how it will work, but I don't know enough yet to describe it. Most probably, we will absorb things that don't need to be digested. And we know that subsequently from these statements, people must have started their own research, and that famous book came out, Destiny of Human Body, by from Ashram itself. She says that the areas of human actions and activities, those could be different in the new body, where breathing, procreation, food, eating, etc., etc., etc. If we refer to the poem Transformation of Sri Aurobindo, we find these lines: my breath runs in a subtle rhythmic stream. I am no more a vessel of flesh. So the blazing path in the subconscious had been created for others to climb in that path or travel by the path. And so in the page 699, we find, when all thy work in human time is done, the mind of earth shall be home of light. Mind of earth will be home of light. The earth, life of earth, a tree growing towards heaven, and body of earth, a tabernacle of God. Then only shall the world redeemer's task be done. That will be the task, work of works getting completed. The first slide. This is all that I have to say. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, I would like to.
Lahiri ji, for this great presentation on work of works of the twin avatars. The extremely difficult work of transformation of the physical body, the tremendous amount of obstacles, suffering and pain in the pits of hell by both our gurus, Sri Aurobindo and the mother. They have physically undergone to pave the sunlit path for all of us here today in this hour of God. Let us all cleanse our soul of self-deceit and be their effective channels for the life divine on this earth. The least that we can do for all that they have done for us, our infinite gratitude to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Mamira Sharanam Mama, Sri Aurobindo Sharanam Mama. Thank you, Lahiri ji, for that great and tremendous research work in this subject. And we wish you to come again to enlighten us further. We close this session with the chanting of the mantra by the Mother for the physical transformation of the cells 3 times. Om Namo Bhagavate. We'll start now. Om Namo Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate. Om Namo Bhagavate. Om, I implore the Supreme Lord. Namo, obeisance to Him. Bhagavate, make me divine. We close this session with 2 minutes silence.